Yo, it's Jess here. Nice to see you again. How have you been doing? In today's video, I would like to talk to you about housing in Japan. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that I'm living in a share house. And a share house is, well, as the name says, it's a house that's shared with everyone living here. There are different kinds of sizes of share houses, from like a house with like 5 rooms to up to like the current share house I'm living in. We have like over 70 rooms, so it's huge. It's a huge building. Yeah, before I came to Japan, I was really inquiring into like the living situation and how it would be, because yeah, if you are going to travel to a completely different country and you don't even know the language and you don't know anyone, you don't have friends, it is important that you have a safe place, right? As I mentioned in my working holiday visa video, I came here with an agency. They provide you with information about different housing situations and they even organize it for you. I just want to share my knowledge about that. So the things I'll be discussing will be like pros and cons of living in a share house. Please let me know if it would be an option for you to live in a share house and if you are interested in living in a share house. If so, let me know. Yeah, so let's get started. Number 1, easy to get in. What that means is, as I mentioned before, if you are a foreigner, it is difficult to be accepted for an apartment. Share houses, they might accept you easy, or like every share house will accept you. There are some share houses which are only for men or only for women, which also exist, so if you're the opposite gender, of course you cannot enter them. 2, multilingual service. So a lot of share house companies, especially in Tokyo and I believe in other big cities as well, they offer an English-speaking service. That also means that your contract and other paperwork will be translated to English, which makes it easy for you to sign and understand, right? Also, if you have any questions, you have someone to talk to in English. That is a big advantage, I would say. I think that's great. Number 3, cheap and convenient. What I mean by that is that you have a low to no initial cost you have to pay to get into the share house. As for an apartment, they sometimes ask you to pay a fee which is worth 2 or 3 months of rent. So you already have to have that kind of cash before you even have paid rent or anything else. And sometimes there are also cleaning fees for apartments, which you have to pay in advance. So on top of that, like 2 to 3 months worth of like initial cost you pay, which is not deposit money, you won't get it back. You sometimes have to pay on top of that like cleaning cost, cleaning fee. I've looked into it because I was thinking of moving to an apartment and I was shocked. Just be prepared if you want an apartment. Another thing that's very, very convenient is that your contract in a share house can be cancelled within a month. That is easy, you know. You want to travel, you want to continue, you decided, oh, I've had enough of Tokyo, I want to go and live in Osaka now. You just need to give 1 month of notice and then you can leave. Whereas for an apartment, they want you to stay sometimes for a year. And if you leave before, there are other fees that like add on to it. It's very convenient. Also, your share house company might have a share house in the place or the city you want to go. And that means you don't need to pay another initial cost, or sometimes you get like, they have like a point system or something like that. If you move to a certain share house that just newly opened and doesn't have a lot of residents, so they might give you points for that or help you move, and you don't have to sign a new contract and go through the whole hassle again. Another thing that is also really great is that your room comes with basic furniture. That means you have a bed, usually you have a desk, a hanger, or a wardrobe, depending on what kind of share house you live in. Sometimes it comes with a private fridge in your room, which is also convenient. The share house I lived before, we had shared fridges in the kitchen, and I didn't really like that. Depending on your share house, there's always like a basic amount of like cooking supplies, like a pan and like a whisker and like all these kind of things, so you don't have to get them yourself, like a rice cooker and stuff like that. Some share houses even provide you with plates and forks and like tableware and all these kind of things. My previous share house did not, so I had to buy my own plate and bowl, spoon, fork, and like these kind of things, like the basic things, which you can easily get in the 100 yen store, which is like $1 store, which is not a big deal, but it's just very, very convenient if everything is already there, right? Number 4, space. As I told you before, space is limited in Tokyo. So if you get an apartment, that sometimes means your apartment is 15 square meters all in total, and everything is one room. Your kitchen is in the room and everything else is in the room. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just packed. I don't know, I don't like it. So you got your room, right? And you can lock your room so no one can get into your room without your consent. And usually a share house has a shared place. So I've been living in 2 share houses. The first one was a very small share house, and the only shared area where we could like gather was the kitchen. I like having things separate, and also sometimes for the price of a share house where you have other spaces to go to is still cheaper, a lot cheaper than renting your own apartment. We have a huge kitchen area. It's really, really nice. We have like a Gordon Ramsay kitchen. I love it. There's a lot of rice cookers. There's a lot of cooking equipment. We have an oven. We have lots of microwaves. We have several stoves. We have a gym. We have a study room. We have a rooftop terrace, as you can see. So there are different kinds of share houses, and my room is very spacious. Like the first room I've had when I moved here was 9 square meters. Current room has 15 square meters. So that is quite spacious, or at least after having lived in Japan for a while now, you think it's hella spacious and you have a lot of freedom. Coming up to number 5, and that's one of my main reasons why I love living in a share house, and that's your housemates. I love meeting people. I have troubles being alone, living alone with no one around, especially right now during this pandemic. If I would live in an apartment myself and there are restrictions of going outside, I think, no. I need people. I need someone to talk to. Even if you're a shy person, that doesn't mean you don't enjoy being around people. I have a lot of housemates who are really shy, but they just work in the shared areas and spend time there. There is just something special about meeting people from all around the world, hearing their stories, sharing your experiences, and also like local people, you know, like in my share house, there are mainly Japanese people. So that gives me also the opportunity to practice my Japanese on a daily basis. And for them, it gives them the opportunity to speak English. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. And especially if you're concerned about making friends in Japan. If you live in a share house, you already have housemates that bonds you, right? That makes you kind of like a family, because yeah, you are. Like, I consider my housemates as my family. We do all sorts of things together, and you know, there is nothing better than coming back home from a tough day of work, having people say, "Welcome home, okaeri," in Japanese, and you just reply, "Tadaima." It's just heartwarming. I love it, and you feel so accepted. And you feel like people care about you, because they do, because you are living together. I felt so homesick, like sometimes that I would just cry and burst out in tears. And then you have people who cheer you up, and you can return the favor and cheer them up if they're down and not feeling great. And that is just amazing. And I love it, and I would not exchange it for anything. I've talked enough about my housemates and how much I love them. If you're watching this, I also want to share some downsides, some cons about living in a share house. Share house life is fast. Sometimes you bond with someone so well, and then they move out because that's life, right? They get another job opportunity, they go back to their families, they leave the country. I've heard people had to move out of their share house because their company asked them to because of Corona at the moment. But it is really, really sad sometimes. And the first time one of my housemates I was really close with moved out, I just cried, and like I was just like holding up to his like leg, and I was like, you cannot leave, how can you do this to us? Because we had so much fun drinking, even though he didn't speak a word of English and I barely spoke Japanese. But him and like my housemates, we were just like such a close group, and we just had so much fun. So the first time when it happened that someone actually left, I was really devastated. But just to prepare you that even everything I said sounds so bubbly and great, which it is, but there are also downsides. Yeah, so if you're living in a share house and there are so many people living together, that means it can get noisy. I don't really have a big problem with noise. I have a loud voice myself, so I know some people are bothered about me being noisy sometimes, especially my laugh is really loud. I'm sorry. Another point is dirt. It can get dirty when lots of people live together and share the kitchen, the bathroom, and like all these kind of places. We had one cleaning lady, which basically she came and she was just smoking, which was prohibited in our share house. One other thing, which is a little bit of like a con, I would say, not so much in this share house, though in the other share house, it sometimes annoyed me because we only had 2 shower rooms. So obviously sometimes you had to wait to take your shower. One other thing, as I said before, your room comes furnished usually. And a little downside could be that it's used furniture and some people prefer their own furniture. And usually you cannot bring like your own bed because there's already a bed. So where should you put the other bed, right? But it just limits your creativity in like arranging your room. Another thing that makes it sometimes, or could be a downside, but I'm not too bad with these things, is conflicts. If you have a conflict with a housemate or other housemates are having a conflict, and it's just human nature. Not everyone gets along perfectly. Not everyone likes each other. I think the biggest con of living in a share house is that in some share houses, guests are not allowed. You're not allowed to bring any guests or friends to stay over. The share house I lived before in, there were no guests allowed, but no one cared. So you could have people over. For me, this is the perfect style of living. I am super, super happy. I love living in a share house. I love sharing my life with so many people. One reason I think I would move into an apartment is if I wanted to have a pet, because obviously the share houses usually don't allow you pets. That is one thing I am suffering from a lot, because I terribly, terribly miss my cat. Like literally, like sometimes randomly throughout the day I just burst out in tears because I miss my cat so much. Shoganai, huh? That's how it is. But I really, really hope that this video was helpful for you, because I would have loved to know more about share houses beforehand. All in all, I'm so happy about you guys commenting on my videos, asking me questions, and I really try to answer to all of them and like share my experience and my information with you. If there are more questions you have, please write them down below. Maybe I can do a video about it, or I can reply to them directly. This is why I want to make videos, to share my experience and the things I've struggled with, so you don't have to. If you subscribe, please comment down below I've subscribed, so I can comment on that, and yeah, I get to know you guys better. So see you in the next video. Johnny.